Instacom is expanding beyond South Africa. As we explore new opportunities across Africa, our business development manager for Africa joins us today to discuss our growing presence and the challenges of operating in different markets and what the future holds for Instacom across the continent. And obviously, we're talking about Instacom's growth and expansion into African markets. And today we have our business development manager, as I mentioned, for Africa, Bradley Anderson. Bradley, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Great to actually have you in country for a bit. We don't see you often, unfortunately, or fortunately. It depends on what side of the border you sit. And so when you're moving into a place like Africa, on the back of South Africa, that obviously has a footprint and has a presence, it's proven itself, and South Africa has done great. But the African market, what does that mean for Instacom?
Well, if you have a look at the African market and where Instacom have been over the 14 years, we've built up this wealth of experience in South Africa. But when you look at African countries and you look at where they are at the moment, African countries are going from like a 2G, 4G environment, and they're going to leapfrog into this Android satellite environment. And what we've built up over the years in terms of experience and how to go to market, we've got that and we're taking that to Africa. And I think we're poised in a very good place now because we are 14x ahead of our competition. It gives us a good place to be and to take this technology and our solution platform to Africa. So I'm excited about that, and I think that's where it is for us the sweet spot to be in terms of going to market in Africa.
It's definitely an area of planet Earth that's technology hungry.
Yeah.
And we see that even in last week we were in Kenya, and the companies that we see, and the first time that they really get into depth within the workforce type of automation and digitization are just so hungry to put something in play.
Yeah.
So obviously if we move into these different countries, there's specific hurdles that we have to cross over. I wonder if there's two separate areas to this. One is the hurdles for the company, and the other one is for the hurdles for the people.
Yeah.
Because the individuals obviously doing the hard work. We might have a look at some of the examples of what we go through. But for Instacom, we face certain hurdles when we go into these African markets. Can you give us a little bit of an overview on that?
So with your expansion into Africa, you can't have a go, right? You've got to be there and you've got to be committed to your expansion program. So I think one of the key things is to be present, and you've got to be fully invested in what it is you're trying to achieve in these countries. So we do look at a lot of things, and there's probably about 10 or 11 factors that we look into before we go into a country, and that we have looked into. And for example, the first would be, is a country politically and economically stable? So there's certain countries in Africa that aren't at the moment. You can take countries for us that might not be economically stable, would be, a DRC or an Ethiopia at the moment. So those are some of the countries that we probably would take having a look at and see then what market segments we fit into within those countries. So each of the countries, if you go onto the West Coast, for example, it's more oil. Up the middle of Africa, you've got your copper and you've got oil also going up to the north and to the west and to the east as well. And then on the east coast, you've got more agricultural. So do we fit into the manufacturing sector? Do we fit into the mining sector? And of course, we've got solutions for all of those. But it's how and which country. So the second factor will kind of be where's the best fit for us there now. We do look at monetary policies. Monetary policy in each of the countries is different. Exchange rates. You can do business in a country, but how do you get your money out? And how do you trade with those companies that are in those countries or those customers as well? And then legal legal entities. We look at how we have trade agreements with certain countries. Just recently now, I think it was in January, Ghana, took away some of those trade agreements or relaxed, and then Trump has put back now reciprocal trade. But that will be a good thing for Africa, because it's going to get Africa to start to trade with each other, hopefully with FCTA, and see how we manage that. So we look at that as well, withholding taxes. And then, of course, do we have customers in South Africa that we, can service in the countries that we're targeting? So that's a no-brainer for us. We obviously look at other countries to see, companies to see whether or not they trading there, how long they've been trading before we get into those markets, to give us the BPs, the engines, the ShopRites, those kind of countries. Gives you a good feel for the economic value of those countries. And then we assess the future return on investment, and how long is it going to take us to see a return on our investment? It costs us a lot of money to be in those countries, and we've invested a lot of money over the last 5 years in Africa specifically, and obviously we need to see return, so we pick the countries that are going to be easiest for us to get the return.
And low-hanging fruits. But it is an expensive exercise to go into these markets, obviously.
Yeah.
But investment opportunity is also there.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, countries changing.
Yeah.
And what we've seen over the past 10 odd years that we've been poking about in Africa, there's some countries that's stable now. And then just one morning when you wake up, it's changed. So if we can look at Mozambique, where we've been and what we've gone through over the past couple of months, and then also Nigeria. In the first 10 odd years, we struggled to get going in Nigeria because of all the regulatory things they have, and tariffs, and getting money out, and but that has changed a little bit over the past 2 or 3 years. Nigeria has also opened up. And is really aggressively growing with us, pushing quite hard, which is quite nice. But with these challenges, it also is a big portion of that is our opportunity.
Yeah.
So if we look at these challenges, and I mentioned, looking at personal challenges as well. And I mean, I was in Zambia a couple of weeks ago, and we got pulled over 3 times in one day. By the police for various different things. Some of them doesn't make sense, which is funny. And I suppose, how you put together and your personality gets you through it.
Yeah.
I think if you're in Africa or South Africa, you have a kind of little bit of a different DNA. You understand how to go about. But as we mentioned on the African team that we were pulled over 3 times, you mentioned you were pulled over 7 times in one day. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about that day.
So we had landed in Gabon, and landed in the evening, and it's never a pleasant thing to land in a country in the evening, because it's just a little bit more difficult to navigate, and the directions to our flat or accommodation that we were given were wrong. So, of course, we were driving, from pillar to post, but this is now between probably 11 and 2 o'clock in the morning, driving around Gabon, and we were stopped 7 times in that particular period, once just leaving the airport. And, of course, my colleague Rudy has a very calm demeanor as well. So it doesn't help to agitate or to poke the bear when you're in these countries. So you've got to be calm and collected, and you just got to keep yourself together. The trick is not to ever let your passport go.
Yeah.
If they walk off with your passport, you're going to have a problem getting home.
It's interesting. We had one of our other colleagues as well that one morning popped out to just draw money quickly for Uber and transport moving about, and he literally walked down from his flat, and he couldn't draw money at the first ATM, so he just kept on walking to get to the next ATM and the next ATM, and I think he had like 5 or 6 or 7 that he had to go to before he got money. And between that, moving back to home, he didn't obviously take his passport with walking, and he got questioned by police and almost slept in jail. So there's some serious challenges. I don't think it's for everybody. I think one of the other challenges that we might just want to mention, and we touched on it when we started off, it, when you're out in Africa and you're not in South Africa, it means you're not home.
Yeah.
You're not with your wife. You're not with your kids. So it's emotionally draining. How do you deal with that, working through that time?
So I think everyone talks about a work-life balance, but I think you have to be invested in what you're doing. So it's almost like your family have to also be invested and understand what it is you're doing.
And they will support, right?
They've got to support you, and they've got to have a good support at home. So, and technology these days, you can voice chat and you can chat at home. So it's not all bad. It's actually, there's a large expatriate community all over the world. I mean, when you look at Brexit, how Europeans, they battled the transport and logistics industry, nearly fell apart because half of the people doing those jobs were from the rest of Europe. So it's not unusual. But it is tough, probably harder on the families at home.
Yeah. So obviously in each of these countries we've got a very, very unique environment that we work with, different cultures, but different business landscapes. How does Instacom tailor its solutions to meet these needs of these specific clients in various countries?
So that's a good question, and fortunately we don't sell a product, and we're not hardware agnostic, and we sell a solution. So we have an IoT platform. So literally everywhere we go, it's not about this is my catalog and this is what we've got, would you like it or not? It's more about, let me understand what your issues are. And I think the key thing with working in any country for that matter is you've got to put time in with your clients. You've got to physically go, you've got to listen to them, understand what it is that they want to achieve. It might not be what you want to achieve or we achieve here. And then site by site, you've got to sit with them and understand, okay, what's your work culture? How do your people work? Are they easily distracted? Are they disciplined enough to use this technology? So we work with them and we understand first what it is that they want to achieve. Then together we go back and we say, okay, we walk the road together. We just tweak what we've got. It's already there. We've done this for 14 years. So we make it apply to that country. So a good example is probably access control. So in Nairobi or Kenya, as sophisticated as an African country as Kenya is, they don't have a barcoded ID system. So we are now transcribing that as a solution for access control into a manual system. It's not a big issue for us to do, but it's what they want to get out of it and what data they want. So we're busy doing that at the moment. So that's kind of the challenge that we have, but it's a nice way because it also helps us open doors for new landscapes for us to go into because we have it there already.
Yeah. There's a story that I heard somewhere that has actually given me a kind of equal look and feel of what Instacom does for companies, where they had students put in a room and they made them do the exams and they got like 60%, and they actually changed the dimmed lights to bright lights, and they then suddenly started to achieve 80% on the exams, which were great. And they changed the bright lights back to dim lights, and the exercise proven them to still do very well, still do 80% plus. Moral of the story was it's not the lights being changed if it's bright or dim that made the difference. It's the fact that they're being monitored, which they've realized. And because of that, it made them more efficient. And so for us as a company, we sometimes allow that to happen because people know they're being monitored or measured. they suddenly perform better. And that's a big way where Instacom pushes efficiencies. And if you're more efficient, then obviously you're more profitable.
Exactly.
I think Africa has got a lot of that.
Yeah.
You know, Africa don't have that accountability, and Instacom takes hands. I think also maybe what in your experience, you know, if you look at the companies and the opportunities like some of the expos that we've been in Africa, one of the first things that companies would come and ask you is, do you have boots on the ground?
Yeah.
And so how important is that presence for companies in Africa?
You have to be, for any country, you have to be present. You can't do business over Teams. And I think from the past, in my experience, some countries from the East, they came into Africa and they Dropboxed a whole lot of products and left. And there was never any backup or any support. That's why you get asked the question. So there's a bit of hesitancy now as they want to know, you're not going to do this to us again. Are you going to be here and you're going to support us on the ground? And yes. So that is the only way you can do business, in my opinion. And because Africa's moving from more of a third world to first world, that face-to-face and that building up of trust is absolutely important. Can I tell you an indication? So if you do business in Angola and you go and visit someone in Angola, besides having to have someone that must transcribe for you, translate for you, if you can't just walk in and start talking business. You've got to talk about things, how they're going, talk about the family, you know, get that out the way once you've done business. As a culture in business, if they want to see you again, the person who you're meeting with will get up and open the door for you and let you out. So if you're in a meeting and you get up and you find yourself opening the door, you know that meeting didn't go very well. You're probably not going to be asked to come back. So each of these countries have these cultures, and you have to be present because they test you. And we've been to clients 4, 5, 6 times before they've said to us, okay, you know, come, you know, let's do this.
I've spoken to one of the guys, I think it was in Kenya, where he went for a meeting and he sat on the wrong chair in the boardroom, and he also didn't get any business. So it is very interesting.
Yeah,
when you do business in Africa, the cultures and understanding what they do in these different countries, and they vary.
Yeah,
every country is
every
different.
country is complete. Just because they're neighbors, there might be some similarities, but each country culturally, and the work ethic as well, is different in each of those countries as well. So you have to understand, in some countries like Ghana, senior managers, when they take the data that we give them from our reporting, from our dashboards, they don't like to discipline people. So it's not just a case of here's a solution. You've got to walk. That's why you must be in country. You've got to walk the road with them, and you've got to transfer that knowledge.
Yeah. What's interesting, one thing that I've seen we've implemented lately, which has got a really big impact, is that with our new business intelligence, it allows us to also give you the tools to be able to incentivize and reward people. It's not just about who's not doing what they're supposed to. You can now also automated use that and leverage that to give people the opportunity to do a simple thing like, if you have a certain task like guard patrols in the security platform, you can actually pull data on one individual or all the guys that does it, and then see which one has done the most days, most of the patrols at 100% argument's sake, or whichever one has got the highest average, and that would actually give you the opportunity to then reward them. Yeah. And little things like a certificate saying that you're the guard patroller of the month give you the opportunity or make them feel rewarded, but also it incentivizes the rest of his staff members to also want to do the same.
Yeah.
So it does really change the way you do business when you implement Instacom. It is a big decision, but it does have a big impact.
I think it has it's what you don't know, you don't know. So going into Africa, you got to tell people what they don't know.
Yeah.
And people have heard, and everyone's got access to the internet. Some countries it's shaped. But that's what you've got to do. You can't assume that we're on the same wavelength, because it's just not like, I mean, people talk about, do you know push to talk? And they go, yeah, but push to talk over VHF or UHF or push to talk over cellular.
Yeah.
There's a difference. So
correct.
They don't assume.
And so it's a big portion of education as well.
Yeah.
So obviously with regards to sales, I'm sure you actually see a lot of different opportunities in Africa. What makes Instacom attractive to the African market?
So what I'm excited about now is Instacom Business Intelligence. It's a new product of ours that is being built off the back of what we've done for 14 years. And recently we've had some good introspection into it. And when you look at Africa and you talked about productivity and you talked about management, to give you an example, a lot of time and attendance in security industry is still done on paperwork. A lot of yields for sugar and for coffee and tea is done on paper. So the opportunity for us with RBI now is going to be able to go back into these countries and go to the Nestle's and to the Liptons and to the sugar mills and say to them, but hold on a second, we've got a solution that we can be able to share with you, and this is how we can do it. We collect the data, and this is how you can view it and manage it. So that's actually opened my eyes quite a bit in the last couple of weeks, because it's not just about going to sell a product that's on a list, but we're looking at solutions. And Instacom, the business intelligence portion of it and the predictive portion of it is just quite mind-blowing. I don't know all of the ins and outs yet, but it's just, I think that's going to be a changer for us, because it gives people in mining, for example, who work in an office in the city, a visual view of productivity that's happening in a pit, on a mine, or on a farm. We have lots of customers like that as well. So I'm quite excited about that.
Yeah, the AI predictability is actually an overlay of the business intelligence, right?
Yeah.
And imagine your system, your Instacom tailored solution, takes the information of what you're doing and then predicting where you're going to end up if you keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
How powerful is that? Especially in the operational portion of any business, mining, the security, obviously we quite invested in over the many years that we've been doing that. But you also have cleaning, where you can do asset management, and you've got construction companies, and you have logistics and fleet. I mean, it's just mind-blowing.
Agriculture, it just opens the door so much more for us to go, oh, okay, there's a reason for us to be here. We've got our core, what we do, but there's just so much more. So
do you think you have enough hands to take on Africa for Instacom?
I think 2025 is a great setup for 2026. I don't think we've seen the best yet, and it's still to come. So I don't know. I don't think we're going to have enough hands. And but boots on the ground. So obviously we try and incorporate our business into local culture, local businesses in each of those countries. So we look forward, in the next 2 years is to building that. We have a great partnership with Ghana South Africa Business Chamber as an example. And they've just really helped you integrate into the country to meet the right people. But it's important not to stay in a holy huddle of expats, and you've got to get into and understand and know the local communities, the local businessmen, and chambers and infrastructures like them then allow you to source and resource people that you can put into place as an example when you build these
and employing local people.
Yeah.
And so, which we've done in Mozambique.
Yeah.
We've done it obviously in Namibia. We're busy now with setting up Kenya and Botswana. And, many more. I think if you have local people employed, that makes a big difference, right?
Yeah.
They have their own networks as well, which is great. But more importantly, they understand the culture that you spoke about a little bit earlier. So obviously, if we go into these countries and we grow and we have boots on the ground, and that's awesome, Instacom has to have some type of measure to quality and proper support, making sure that our reliability is in all different aspects. Obviously, we've got to tick those boxes. So if you look at Africa and you look at stability, reliability, and the support, how do we actually measure those? How do we put them into play?
So it's a good question because it's a little bit simpler than you think. So the first thing is you got to listen to your customers. So every country is different, and every country has a different way of doing things. So you can be prescriptive and say this is how our solution works and this is how it must be done. But the challenges in each of those countries are different. So first of all, we've got to listen, understand what it is they're trying to achieve. And then we've had this thing in our team for a while where we transfer knowledge. So whenever we're in a country, always visiting our customers, always important, but we transfer knowledge every opportunity you can, because a customer who's self-empowered is a customer who can deal in country with their own issues, and we don't become a bottleneck. So that's the second thing that we do. And then enabling. You've got to enable your customers to be able to solve solutions and to use their product correctly. And then conditions in a continuous cycle visits. If you're not visiting your customers, as the adage goes, someone else is. So the first thing that we do when we land in a country is meet with our current clients, our customers, but we go and visit and we work with them on the sites. So when you go to a site with your customers, you see what's around you. You can't see that on a screen when you're on a Teams call. You observe the behaviors around you, the industry, how they interact with your product. And sometimes simple things that you observe you can change, make a big difference. We've got an awesome support team, 24/7. I mean, I phoned them from the jungles, I call it, of Sierra Leone at 1 o'clock in the morning when I misprogrammed some tags.
I remember that.
And I can't unfortunately remember who was online, and it was sorted, time zones away. So those are the key things, and then repeat. And we do that over again.
Yeah, rinse and repeat. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to obviously Africa expanding. What are some of the goals and what do we envision for the future? Like, what are we going to achieve in Africa?
So I have a saying that activity brings opportunity. So if you're not active in a country, you're not participating in the economy and in the networks and in the environment, you can't go there and sit in your flat. You can't go there and stick to yourself. You have to get into the community, understand the community. You have to live the country. So that's one of the key things. You have to be prepared to, we've been doing this for the last 5 years, so we've got a blueprint. That's our business, into our IP. But we know what we need to do when we go into a country. We're well set up now. I mean, we've got Mozambique and Namibia up and running, Botswana coming online. Kenya is a great new project for us. Kenya, we've got Uganda, Rwanda, Tanzania, Malawi and Zambia that will support as well. So I'm excited about that. It's also important to not bite off too much you can chew, and to target countries that you know you can do well in because of other factors like transport, francophone. It's pointless, we have a very difficult time going to, Anglophone. going to the Francophone countries because, you're going to battle. Same with Portuguese. So we've got an awesome base of customers across, Sierra Leone, Ghana, Nigeria, Gabon, Angola, and of course Namibia. So I think the springboard for Africa will be, for the company will be, across the sea to the west and to the east. I'm not going to say anymore. You're going to need to keep watching the series. But I think we've got to do what we do well. Do first well.
Yes.
And I think we've got our blueprint, and I'm very confident that these next 2 years are going to be very successful for us.
Yeah, great. I think you got to focus. You can't do everything at once.
Yeah.
And so if you focus your goals within certain countries or certain industries and stick to it for a short period, 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, that's where you're going to see best results.
Yeah.
If you look at Mozambique, we've got localized individuals employed there, they work there, they stay there, they live it. And the successes within Mozambique has been great. And so copy-paste.
Yeah.
The only difference is Kenya is a little bit further away than Mozambique, which makes it harder and a little bit more expensive. But there's definitely massive growth up in Africa. It's just you need to position yourself to be able to do it, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So looking forward to where we're going to go into Africa. I think in the next 3 to 5 years, I don't think we can foresee what's coming.
No.
But, we need to go out there. We need to be there and make a difference. Yeah, and so we have come to the last episode of our Instacom podcast season, our first one. I hope you've learned a lot, and I'm sure you're going to learn a lot more for those to come. Enjoy.